Welcome to my review for the 2004 horror sequel Seed of Chucky. In this one, Chucky and Tiffany inadvertently find themselves in the back of this millionaireess's limousine as they head towards her mansion in Beverly Hills. But rather than just sit around enjoying their new trappings, they quickly set about coming up with another harebrained scheme to get back into some human bodies, whilst all the time trying to raise their new child. Yeah, there's 3 of them this time. Now, if you've been following my reviews for this series so far, you'll know that I really enjoyed the original trilogy. When it came to the 4th movie, Bride of Chucky, I dumped on that one. I just didn't like the whole veering towards comedy horror. And when I found out that the tone for this film would take a similar path to that, plus introduce yet another character to the brood, I wasn't looking forward to it. I was really struggling to actually get the motivation to carry on. And I think it's only because I'm doing this review series that I actually did carry on. But to my amazement, I actually enjoyed it. I can't believe it. And over the last 48 hours, I've been sort of furiously evaluating why it is that I enjoyed Seed of Chucky and not Bride of Chucky. And I think to sort of explain myself, I have to go back a bit to Bride of Chucky. I have a theory that that film started out as a Child's Play 4 concept, and then at some point during the writing or the development, they've looked at how good the chemistry was between Chucky and Tiffany and how funny that was, and they've decided, you know what, let's just take this down a different path here and add a few more jokes in and make it more of a comedy horror. That's my theory. I might not be correct. Plus, if you look at the side plot in that film about the 2 teenage runaways who are fleeing the girl's dad because he's sort of mentally abusive and he doesn't want her to be with this boyfriend. I mean, that's a really bleak tale. I mean, they're heading up north. They've got no jobs at the end of it. They're just heading into destitution. They might be getting framed for murder. It's quite dark. And if you try and marry that with the antics of 2 dolls and all the laughs that they're having and stuff, it's not easy to pull off a comedy in that scenario. Compare that side plot, though, to the one from Seed of Chucky, where Jennifer Tilly's actress character is trying to get the role in this new movie. I mean, what are the stakes there? She doesn't get the role. She's still going to wake up a millionaireess. She can always try and get a different role next week. I mean, she might be saying that this is the be-all and end-all for her career, but you know that's just hyperbole coming out of her mouth. It's not actually the case. So I think that's just a better setup for comedy. In fact, you could take the dolls out of Seed of Chucky, and there's still the potential there for a really funny comedy about an actress who goes to great lengths to get movie roles for herself. And the writing in this film, I think, is just funnier and wittier anyway. There's so many jokes that I really enjoyed. I mean, the one that I just alluded to there about Jennifer Tilly sleeping with this director to try and prove that she'd make a great Virgin Mary. I thought that was a great gag. I really enjoyed that. The Britney Spears one as well. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when Britney Spears was a thing, and even though she was hot, she was also kind of annoying at the same time. And seeing Chucky just ram her off the road and send her up in a fiery explosion, I enjoyed that. I didn't need that line at the end of it where he says, "Oops, I did it again." It was already really funny without throwing that in there. That was overkill, but still, I loved that. But I think my favourite joke of all was the paparazzi guy who's looking in the house at when Jennifer's with the director, I forget his name, and then suddenly all these things start happening, and he's like, oh, he's trying to get all the snaps, and then he sees Chucky masturbating in the window upstairs. He's like, oh, thank God for the midgets. Just brilliant. Glenn did not annoy me as much as I thought he would. I had an image in my head of that character being this really hyperactive kid running around. Maybe he'd have a mohawk. Chucky would constantly have an expression on his face like Kevin from Home Alone, like, this kid, you know. And I thought he would just be driving Chucky crazy, but driving me crazy just trying to watch the movie. That's what I thought it would be, and it wasn't. I mean, the character is completely the opposite of that. He's really timid. He doesn't like killing. He's not in the movie enough that if you feel like he's trying to take top billing away from Chucky. Chucky's still the main man in this movie, as it should be. I don't care if his son doesn't have murderous tendencies, and it didn't bother me that Tiffany's tendencies sort of reduce a bit in this film. The idea a little bit is that because she's a mother now, she's starting to reevaluate her actions across the course of her life, and I didn't mind her going in that direction. You know, her and her son can become conscientious objectors if they want. That's fine. As long as Chucky stays the same, then everything's fine as far as me, the viewer, is concerned. Kills in this film, absolutely great. I thought that might be something that they would neglect a little bit, you know, with the horror comedy thing taking centre stage. But I mean, there's some great ones in this film, really great. Some of the best in the series. I can think of 5 really amazing kills just off the top of my head in this movie. I won't name them all, but I think my favourite was probably the one where this guy sort of backs into the shelf and then some sulfuric acid sort of lands on him. I thought that was a really great kill. One of the best accidentally killing yourselves deaths I think I've ever seen. I was saying in my review for Halloween 4 the other week that I really like deaths where people electrocute themselves just because of the sizzle. I also like deaths where people get melted. I'm not a sicko, I promise. It's just in movies I like this stuff, but I just like the effects that you can do when you melt somebody in a horror film. It's really kind of cool. Jennifer Tilly, I did not like her in Bride of Chucky. I just didn't like that performance. I mean, the human side of her, she was all right in the puppet, but in this film, playing this actress, I think she's much more suited to this role, playing this kind of ditzy person who's, you know, trying to go to all these lengths to procure movie roles for herself. I thought she was much more suited to that than playing, you know, this psychopathic girlfriend character from the previous one. So I actually came around to liking this actress much more in this film. Hannah Spirit is in this film as Jennifer Tilly's assistant. She is, well, she was a member of this UK pop group called S Club 7 around about the turn of the millennium, and I had no idea that she actually turned her hand to acting. But yeah, and so she's quite good actually. I wouldn't say she's brilliant, but it was a real surprise to me to suddenly see her turn up in a Chucky film. But negatives about the film, I've really waxed lyrical about it so far. The only thing I would say that I didn't like about Seed of Chucky is probably the ending. I mean, for the second film in a row now, it's been quite a bland finale, especially compared to the real explosive endings that we got for the first 3 films, where they'd switch the action to a toy factory or a fairground. Just don't seem to be doing that anymore. I mean, we didn't even really change the setting in this film for the ending. It just, you know, just carried on as it was. What I will say is, though, I did like the fact that once the ending had resolved itself, that the dolls were all sort of split up. I had an image in my head, one of these images that I get before I watch movies of what's going to happen. And I had one in this movie where the 3 of them, the 3 dolls, were just going to walk towards this fake Hollywood sunset. You know when you see TV shows and films take place on a movie set, like a bit like Scream 3, you'll see guys in the background just randomly carrying big like background pictures across the street. And if you think of a background picture of like a sunset, I thought there was going to be some dodgy joke like that the 3 dolls would walk towards one of these, like arguing, and a bit like Fagin and the Artful Dodger or something like that. But thankfully it didn't take that route. And the fact that Chucky is now on his own at the end of the movie gives us a chance to go back to a Child's Play film that just has him. And I'm hopeful on this score because I've seen the poster for the next one, Curse of Chucky, and it's just got him on it. So I don't want to go into Wiki and look up the plot or anything like that, but I'm optimistic that we might be going back to a solo effort next time. So, you know what? Let's head to the Bag of Terror and find out what kind of score we are going to give Seed of Chucky. We've got 1, 2, 3 bloody axes out of 5 for Seed of Chucky. That is a pretty good score. I did not expect it to get this, honestly. That puts it still behind the original trilogy. I gave all 3 of those films 4 bloody axes. But this is way ahead of Bride of Chucky, which only scored 1.5. So we're back on the right track. And I've got my motivation back for this series now. I am right up for going on for part 6. So I will see you again next time when I'll be reviewing that. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.